She asked me to call him Dad at dinner. Her voice trembled as if even she couldn't convince herself that the word belonged to him. The man across from me, Rick, smiled too wide, showing too many teeth. It was the kind of grin that tried to claim the whole room. His hand slipped over hers on the table. She didn't pull away. That was when I realized something inside her had already gone quiet, something vital had died long before this meal. I remember the sound of the knife clinking against my plate as I set it down. The noise echoed through the thick, suffocating silence. Then I looked up at her and said quietly, "I already have one." That was the last honest thing I ever said in that house. Mom used to be light itself, soft laughter, Sunday pancakes, long car rides with the windows down, and the music too loud. She and Dad used to be solid, unbreakable. At least, that's what I believed when I was 12. Then one night the shouting began. At first it was hushed, whispers that they thought I couldn't hear. But soon it became glass shattering and doors slamming hard enough to shake the walls. A week later, Dad was gone.
His clothes vanished.
His toothbrush disappeared from the bathroom. She told me he needed time, but I knew better. Mothers only say that when they're hiding someone else behind the curtain. Rick showed up 3 months later in a pickup truck, wearing cologne that smelled like rust and pine. He said he was helping around the house. He said he cared about us. I didn't believe a word of it. At first, he played his part well, fixing faucets, carrying groceries, saying please and thank you. But the cracks appeared soon enough. The way his eyes followed her when she walked by. The way he'd make jokes about how I needed a man's discipline. What hurt most was how she laughed at those jokes, not because they were funny, but because she wanted to believe she hadn't made a mistake. It started small. Dad's number was suddenly blocked on her phone. Photos of him disappeared from the shelves. Her voice went brittle any time I mentioned his name. Then came the letter. I wasn't looking for it. It had slipped beneath a drawer, folded neatly in half. The handwriting was his. Still love you both. I'll be back when it's safe. Those last 3 words, when it's safe, rewired something in me. I still remembered his number. I sent a text not expecting anything. But he called within the hour. His voice was tired, worn down, but still alive. That's when the truth came out. She hadn't been the betrayed one. She was the betrayer. Rick wasn't just a co-worker. He was her escape hatch. When Dad found out, he confronted them both, and things turned violent. Not because of him, but because she made it so. She filed false charges, claimed she was afraid, said he was dangerous. She won custody. He lost everything. I listened without interrupting. And by the time he finished speaking, I already knew what I had to do. Revenge isn't about anger. It's about patience. And I was very patient. Rick loved control. He loved being the man of the house. So I let him have that illusion. I kept my voice quiet, my steps soft. Predators relax when you stop resisting. Every night, I took mental notes. He had a second phone. He kept cash in a lockbox under his truck seat. He met clients every Wednesday night at the same bar. Meanwhile, Dad and I spoke in secret. He told me not to do anything stupid. I told him I wouldn't. I lied. The first move was small. While Rick slept, I used his second phone. Sent a few messages. A few pictures. The number I sent them to belonged to one of his clients. Except she wasn't a client. She was another girlfriend. I made sure Mom found out. Printed screenshots and slipped them into her purse. 2 days later, the explosion hit. Screaming. Accusations.
Tears.
Rick stormed out. She threw plates at the wall. I sat quietly and watched. That night, when she came to me asking if I could help fix things, I nodded. She thought I'd chosen her side. She didn't realize I was done choosing between liars. Step 2. Evidence. Dad still had the police report from the custody battle. The inconsistencies, the missing witnesses, the bruises that didn't match the medical photos. I sent copies to Dad's lawyer, to child services, and to one of Mom's friends who adored gossip more than loyalty. Rick came back that weekend. She forgave him, like she always did. He moved in again. But this time, the police were watching. Turns out his girlfriend had filed a report for financial fraud. He'd been stealing money from her company. My anonymous tip confirmed where he was staying. They arrested him right at our front door. Mom screamed as they handcuffed him. I stood behind her, holding the same knife I'd set down weeks earlier at that dinner table. It should have ended there. But karma doesn't stop halfway. Rick's arrest reopened everything. The custody case, the false accusations, the lies. All of it surfaced again. Her record came under review. 3 months later, Dad got a call from the court. Custody reinstated. When I packed my bags, she begged me to stay.
She said she was sorry.
Said she was scared. I looked at her the way she once looked at him, like I was already saying goodbye to a ghost.